What's up guys, Ricardo with Phastek Performance. Today I'm here to show you guys how to install this Roto-Fab intake, which is going to provide a little bit more whine and more power to your LT4 ZL1. This system will come with all the necessary hardware needed for an easy install. It does feature a dry filter, but an oil filter option is available, a high gloss black heat shield, and the MAF sensor housing. Alright guys, now before we go ahead and pull the factory intake off, what we're going to do is we're going to put this Roto-Fab box together a little bit. Now all we have to do is put the mass airflow sensor housing, put that in place using the provided hardware, and we'll take this weather stripping seal and we'll put that around the box so that way it makes a nice tight seal around the hood. Alright guys, now we're ready to go ahead and remove the factory intake. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove, there's a little push pin down on the bottom right here, just on the factory lip. There's this lip right here we'll also go ahead and remove. We'll disconnect the mass airflow sensor housing, and we'll disconnect the breather right here, followed by the clamp on the throttle body, and then the whole intake will remove as one piece. Alright guys, now that we have the factory air box off to the side, I have the Roto-Fab box here as well. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and switch the mass airflow sensor, and we're going to swap it from the factory intake to the Roto-Fab provision. This Roto-Fab does come with new hardware to reinstall the mass airflow sensor, so the factory screws will not be reused. We're going to go ahead and transfer it over. It should be a simple couple of bolts, transfer it off. Alright guys, now before we go ahead and install the Roto-Fab box, one thing we're going to get rid of is this plastic tie here. Since this tie was for the factory box, it no longer does anything. And Roto-Fab gives you a new zip tie to zip tie the lines to the AC line just to prevent any movement of those lines. All we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and snug it up. We're not going to pull it real tight, just snug it up so that way it doesn't move. Now that we're ready for the Roto-Fab box, one thing you guys want to check in case it came off with the factory intake are for the grommets that are in place. As you guys can see, these two are missing, but the third one is in place. They were on the factory intake, so we'll go ahead and get them put back on so that way the Roto-Fab box can fall right in place. With the grommets in place, we can now install the Roto-Fab box. Alright guys, one more piece of assembly that we'll have to do before we go ahead and install the Roto-Fab tube onto the car is that we'll have to take this provision right here and go ahead and get it removed from the factory elbow. All we'll have to do is take a pocket screwdriver and get this clamp, get it removed, remove this piece, and go ahead and install it on the Roto-Fab tube with the parts provided. Alright guys, now that we have the intake tube ready for installation, first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and install the silicone couplers that Roto-Fab has with their kit. This one here, being the smaller one, is going to go to the throttle body. We're going to go ahead and wrap the clamp around it, slip that in place. We're going to take our outer clamp and go get it ready for the tube. Then we're going to take our other tube here and go ahead and install it. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and leave the clamps on, and we're going to leave them loose. This will allow us to adjust a little bit for the tube that we're going to go ahead and put in place right now. Before we go ahead and get the tube put in place, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drop down a towel here just to prevent any scratching, because it is a tight fit area. So what we're going to do, this will prevent any scratching to the tube once we get it installed. Now that we have the tube installed, we'll go ahead and get our clamps lined up, reconnect the vacuum line over here on the side, reconnect our mass airflow sensor, and then we'll go ahead and install the filter on this opposite side. All right, now we'll go ahead and get the filter installed and we'll be nearly finished. All right guys, now that completes the install of the intake. But one last thing we do have to do is just swap out this bolt right here. This bolt right here will end up hitting this, but Roto-Fab does supply you with a bolt that we're just going to go ahead and swap it out with. So it's not a problem. Now that the bolt's swapped out, we can go ahead and fire the car up.